I honestly don't know how the Dallas Cowboys keep doing this to the NFL fans and media every single season. They get everybody's hopes up that this could be the year that the Dallas Cowboys make a deep playoff run, but every year they fall flat on their face in the playoffs, and this year was no exception. Green Bay, the 7th seed, with a quarterback who's in his first full year of starting in Jordan Love, just manhandled them 48-32, and honestly, it wasn't even as close as the score makes it seem. At one point in the end of the third quarter, it was literally 48-16, and most of Dallas's stats, which Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb were able to pick up, came in the fourth quarter when Green Bay had already put in their backups and they were able to score 2 touchdowns. But this game just blew my mind because while I projected that Green Bay could upset Dallas in the first round of the playoffs, I didn't think it was going to be in such a dominant fashion as it was today. First off, I want to give a lot of praise and credit to the Green Bay Packers and especially their offense. Jordan Love went 16 for 21 with 272 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he found a connection today with Romeo Doubs for 6 catches for 151 yards and a touchdown. And their running game was honestly spectacular as well, as Aaron Jones ran the ball 21 times for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. This was really a complete game by the Green Bay Packers, and their defense was lights out as well, especially in the first half, as they forced 2 interceptions before the Cowboys were even able to score at all. And by the end of the game, the Cowboys had scored 32 points, but like I said before, it came a lot in garbage time, and that's the only reason that Dak was able to put up over 400 yards, and this game was not as close as it looks because Green Bay's defense and offense and coaching and special teams just outclassed Dallas every phase of the game and in every quarter. And Dallas's meltdown just needs to be studied because Dallas went from a team that was a 2nd seed going to the playoffs. They won their division after Philly kind of fell apart, and then in the first round of the playoffs, they just collapsed. They seem to do this every single year. Dallas goes into the playoffs with a lot of expectations, and they fall flat on their face. This was the same thing that's happened for the past 3 or 4 years. Dak and Mike McCarthy are going to be under a lot of fire in the upcoming weeks because before this season, it was already rumored that Prescott was possibly on the trade block and possibly on his way out of Dallas. But then people, after his start to the season where he played really well, thought that he had redeemed himself and that he could possibly actually lead a deep playoff run for the Cowboys, especially with how good their defense was. But then you come to this game, and in the first quarter, he has a pick and then a couple other balls that could have easily been intercepted. And then he throws a pick 6 in the second quarter, and then when they were about to score in the end of the second quarter, at the 10-yard line, he throws another ball that hits a Green Bay defender in the hands. But luckily for him, the guy dropped it, and they were able to continue their drive and end up scoring their first touchdown of the game. But this game was nowhere close to being a contest because, like I said, at one point, it was 48-16 for Green Bay, and even the 48-32 score, which is still a blowout, does not tell you how much of a blowout this actually was. They couldn't get their run game going. They couldn't get their air attack going. CeeDee Lamb ends up with decent stats, 9 catches for 110 yards. But in all honesty, he dropped a few passes and dropped 2 in the first half where he just wasn't himself. And the connection between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb was just not there today until the fourth quarter when most of the backups for Green Bay were in and Dallas was just trying to do something on offense. On the other side of the ball, for the Dallas defense, they played abysmal as well, and they are going to get a lot of flack going forward because they played so well throughout the regular season, but then they go and give 48 points to the Green Bay Packers in the 7th seed. Jordan Love played exceptionally well, and I want to give him a lot of credit, but at the same time, this defense was a sieve today. There was one play where Luke Musgrave was open for a touchdown, and there was no one within 30 yards of him, it felt like. So the Cowboys just disintegrated on the biggest stage, and this could be Mike McCarthy's last game as coach of the Cowboys and could very well be Dak Prescott's last game as the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. But for the Cowboys, it's going to be hard to move on from Prescott because his contract is just so large and they invested so much into him that it's going to be hard to move him, and therefore it's going to be hard to get another quarterback of starting caliber to place alongside him with another big contract. But if I'm the Cowboys right now, I'm exploring all options because after a butt whooping like this, and after Prescott has been in the league since 2016 and still hasn't been past the second round of the playoffs and continues to disappoint, you have to really wonder if he's the guy that you have to stick with going forwards. So, in all honesty, I don't want to be a Dak hater, but we have to be realistic here. He played very poorly today. Outside of the 2 interceptions and the pick 6 that he threw, he was missing targets. There was one where CeeDee Lamb was wide open on the boundary for a first down early in the game, and he just completely missed him. Him and CeeDee Lamb were not on the same page, which was really surprising after CeeDee Lamb went for 1,700 yards this year and over 130 catches. But there was just a lack of connection today between Dak and CeeDee, and all units of the Cowboys underperformed and all units of the Packers overperformed. So good luck to the Packers going forwards, and I think they're going to be a hard team to beat after this dominant performance. But the Cowboys are going to have to really look at some things and really take into account who they have leading their team and if those leaders are capable of leading them to a Super Bowl or even a deep playoff run at all. It's so crazy to me that going into this game, Dak Prescott was really considered to be an MVP candidate, and he's going to probably be a MVP finalist because the MVP award is based on the regular season. But after a collapse like this, and after he's collapsed multiple different times throughout the past 5 or 6 seasons, you have to really question whether he's a starting quarterback for the Cowboys going forward. And when it comes to Mike McCarthy, he's just had repeated failures as well. He won the Super Bowl with Green Bay, actually, back in, I think, 2010. But ever since then, he's just had playoff disappointment after playoff disappointment with Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott, who were both considered to be top quarterbacks of their generation and of their era. So you really have to take into consideration if McCarthy's the right coach and if Prescott is the right quarterback for your team, because you've gone through so much turmoil. You fired Kellen Moore because of the turnovers, but then you look at Dak Prescott and the turnovers just are still there. And the run game has been non-existent for so long for the Cowboys. So it's hard to really put them as real contenders for next year. Even if they have a great regular season, it's hard to trust them in the playoffs because of what happened this year. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. God bless you all. I hope you have an amazing day. And make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by April. God bless.